It is now my pleasure to introduce a very special speaker. This young lady studied history and science and earned a certificate in mind, brain, and behavior. In her time at Harvard, she has worked at the Writing Center and volunteered as a peer counselor for Response, a group specializing in issues of abuse, sexual assault, and relationship concerns. She freelances for a number of publications on science, literature, and culture, and she hopes to pursue a career in science writing. Lastly, she is in denial about her imminent breakup with Burdick's chocolate. Without further ado, Julia Ostmann.
I don't know about the rest of you mid-year graduates, but I had been feeling nervous about the curse of Johnston Gate. It's that gate by Mass Hall, and they say if you walk under it, you're not going to graduate. And I was getting pretty worried that all those freshmen late-night runs to autos under that gate had done me in. But we made it! Go run under Johnston Gate like 50 times. I'm gonna wait till they mail me my diploma though. So there's this Harvard student who didn't always feel like he fit. He's not living in the yard freshman year, so we can guess that leaves him feeling a little frustrated. He fights with his expository writing instructor about what really constitutes a college paper, and he gets a B+, and we get this. Why couldn't it just be an A-? He doesn't love the university atmosphere, finds it sort of stifling, and eventually the ad board puts him on academic probation, and somehow he sorts it so he can graduate early. Later, he goes to France for a while and he figures things out. You might know this guy. His name was T.S. Eliot. He won a little thing called the Nobel Prize. And he is, I think, a welcome and rare reminder here at Harvard that the straightforward path is not a necessary precursor to success. Cognitive neuropsychology has this concept of attention. Basically, out of the infinities of stimuli bouncing around the universe, what do you perceive? In the iPhone of your mind, which apps do you open and which idle in the background? Attention can fade. You probably forgot just now that you were breathing. Attention can be directed, as those of you who were just sleeping now know. We tested this once in a fiction class I took here. Everyone wandering the Barker Center listing items the color red, and when we came back, nobody had the same list. Now this might seem obvious, the individuality of experience, but sometimes it's easier to see what everyone else is seeing, to define ourselves by the normal goals and expectations. What I believe is that in taking time off, or in choosing to graduate early, in committing to field research in India, or freelance writing, or White House internships, or the time and space to heal, or in my case, 113 episodes of Parks and Recreation, our attention shifts. We stand outside of Harvard and we see it differently. Maybe just slightly. Maybe just enough to gain a newfound appreciation for HUDs. Or maybe you feel like now you finally get it. You understand how to make Harvard or your career path or your mind work for you. And you're leaving. There's a kind of mournfulness to that. In the four quartet T.S. Eliot wrote, "Every phrase and every sentence is an end and a beginning. Every poem an epitaph." PSA while we're feeling sad. If you haven't heard T.S. Eliot's robust voice reading his own poems, I suggest you go take a listen in the Woodbury Poetry Room. It's in Lamont, it's the room with all the blue chairs, and your swipe expires in like 2 seconds, so book it. In my beginning is my end. I think we can take this a different way. Not only the strangeness of finishing up at Harvard when we are just beginning to see in new ways, but also when a new Harvard is on the horizon. Traditions that have been around for decades, if not longer, suddenly started crumbling before us. The Signet Society for Arts and Letters, where T.S. Eliot was once a member, this semester opened applications to everyone, not just a nominated few. Final clubs began going co-ed. We've seen the Lampoon elect its first African-American president and all-female top leadership duo. The Holyoke Center became the Smith Center, then became a gaping construction hole that will soon take Clover with it. In magazines and in movements, conversations about structural racism in the university are just beginning. The sexual assault policies that in my freshman spring top administrators told me would never change at Harvard are undergoing intense scrutiny and revision. Change takes time, but it's safe to say that this is not the Harvard we first met. It feels to me like a new space of transformation we could have never imagined in the campus we inherited. And perhaps the way we thought Harvard had to be affected our trajectories here. Because this is not the ending most of us expected to have. And this is not the Harvard we expected to leave behind. And yet, in my beginning is my end. It's strange to be standing here speaking as if the things I direct my attention to are important or relevant to you, because we of all people know that there is no mold to a Harvard experience. There is no one way to Harvard. We are living embodied proof that what is normal is not necessarily right. Marita Bonner knew this. She was a Radcliffe student, one of the many who passed through this building here, and who was all too familiar with the courage it takes to stand on the outside of Harvard looking in, especially when it is not a choice. As an African-American woman in the early 20th century, Bonner was barred even from living in the Radcliffe dorms. Yet she soldiered against prejudice, founding a sorority and becoming a leading voice in the Harlem Renaissance. Bonner wrote an essay in which she argued that being on the outside allowed one to pay attention to the intersections of obstacles and the nuances of experience, to see what others could not. And in expanding and deepening the attention in this way, one came to understanding. Today, psychologists, neuroscientists, and philosophers debate whether attention is equal to consciousness, or rather, if all we are as human beings is what we see and what we are blind to. In this light, stepping away from Harvard early or for a while is, I think, as brave as it is rare. Because when we shift our attention, we begin to shift ourselves. In XPOS, they teach us the so what question. So what? That all of us here today leave Harvard with this unique comprehension that falling out of step is not falling behind. In concluding one of the four quartets, Eliot inverted his phrase to read, "In the end is my beginning." Embarking on our new lives with shifted perspectives, we can understand with greater empathy. We can act with far-reaching and unconventional vision. Marita Bonner wrote of this move from understanding to action, and I hope her words will give us mid-year graduates courage today. You can gather, as it passes, the essences, the overtones, the tints, the shadows. Draw understanding to yourself. And then you can, when time is ripe, swoop to your feet at your full height, at a single gesture, ready to go where? Thank you.